Hey guys, welcome to Wanderlusting Lawyer. If you're new here, I'll just give a quick introduction. My name is Kate. I did my first Camino de Santiago back in the summer of 2018. I was on the Camino Francés for 34 days with 3 rest days included. That was starting in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France and finishing in Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And then just this past summer in July of 2021, I spent about 9 days on the end of the Chemin d'Arles in the south of France, and then connected with the Camino Aragonés and did that Camino through the Aragon region of Spain, connecting with the Camino Francés at Puente la Reina. So today I am doing what I feel may be a controversial video, and I can say that based on another video I made talking about what the food on the Camino de Santiago is really like. And just I've seen this issue commented on a lot in Camino Facebook groups, and people tend to feel very impassioned about this one way or another. So today I'm going to be talking about the Great Camino Veggie debate, or can you get vegetables on the Camino de Santiago? And like I said, there are a lot of people who say no, and then just as many people who don't just say yes, but get almost angry and, wonder if they were on the same Camino as other people. So instead of kind of answering the question, are there vegetables on the Camino de Santiago? Because of course there are vegetables. Spain is a country that has vegetables. I'm going to talk about what can cause the impression that the Camino is lacking in fresh vegetables. And before I do that, I just want to say a couple things. So I have spent more than 2 years living, working, and traveling in Spain through several different regions, mostly in the south of Spain. But I have a lot of experience in the country. I speak the language fluently. So I'm not somebody that's just giving my opinion based on, 6-7 weeks over the course of 2 Caminos. It's a country I really know personally. I also love the food on the whole in Spain. So this has nothing to do with how amazing the food is or isn't. This is specifically directed toward the topic of getting vegetables on the Camino de Santiago. And I also want to say, of course, there are exceptions, right? Everybody's going to have that place they stopped that had nothing but vegetarian or vegan options, or vegetable dishes you could never find, let's say, in the States, and I get that. And so this video isn't specifically for vegetarians or vegans either, although hopefully some of this information is useful as you're evaluating your culinary options. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about what can cause the impression that the Camino is lacking in fresh vegetables or veggie-based dishes. So I'd say, to start, so Pilgrim's menus, which I discuss in that other video I referenced, are basically what the majority of the pilgrims tend to eat day in, day out, at least in my experience. So these are a lot of food for comparatively little money. And so I think that's what's attractive to a lot of pilgrims who, at the end of the day, don't want to cook. They're tired, they want to spend time exploring or meeting other people. And so this allows you, usually for 8, 10, 12 euros. Sometimes there are multiple options at different price points depending on, the quality and the number of dishes offered. But you get a first plate, primer plato, a second plate, segundo plato, a dessert, postre, bread, pan, and then vino, wine, water. That's a lot of food for very few euros. And so I think for restaurants to be able to offer that, and specifically whom they're offering it to, so people who've been walking miles and kilometers day in, day out, the dishes tend to be very carb or protein forward or both, right? So a lot of pasta dishes, a lot of rice dishes, tons of potato options, usually in the way of French fries on the side of whatever else you're getting, a lot of chicken, pork, maybe some lower quality steak, things like that. If you're going to see a vegetable offering, it's usually going to be a salad, and almost always the ensalada mixto, a mixed salad. But it's probably not the same mixed salad you're used to, with a mix of different vegetables. You're likely going to have less lettuce than you would expect, and a lot more onions, tomatoes, carrots, which are great vegetables, but also corn, tuna, hard-boiled eggs. Those are all very common additions to the Spanish ensalada mixto, which I, by the way, love. I love that salad. I never thought about putting tuna on a salad. But it just goes to show that even in maybe the one vegetable forward offering on the Pilgrim's menu, you're going to have some type of, seafood in this instance, or eggs for the vegans out there. This was a case when I was on the Camino Aragonés. I was at a really nice restaurant. It was the only restaurant I could find, and I was so sweaty and dirty and embarrassed to be there. And I was craving something like just really fresh and veggie forward, and I ordered a salad, and I ended up eating like a third of it because there was so much ham, tuna, just a lot of stuff that at that time I just really didn't want. And so the waitress actually thought I didn't like it, and I said, it was great. I was just looking for more veggies to it. So for example, like, so I never saw as one of the dishes a plate of grilled vegetables. Maybe you did, and if you did, please share with us below where you found that. But yeah, you're probably going to see options, like I said, pasta, meats, really carb and protein, dishes centered around those items, which makes sense. Again, these are people who are walking long distance and looking for a lot of food at a lower price. You may see places that offer both a menú del peregrino, a pilgrim's menu, and a menú del día, the menu of the day. So sometimes they're one and the same, sometimes they're separate, depending on the clientele. And the menú del día might have some more upscale offerings for a couple more euros. So it never hurts to ask. The people, depending on how you're dressed, people at the restaurants might assume you just want the menú del peregrino and bring you that one. So yeah, it never hurts to ask. And even another thing to mention is, like, so you may see certain soups on these menus, like gazpacho or gazpacho in Spain, or salmorejo, which are both tomato-based soups, but they're both made with bread, right? So even in those dishes, you still have a very carb-centric element. Another reason I think there's an impression that the Camino is lacking in like fresh veggies and vegetable dishes is that I have never seen a Spanish restaurant that has the same offerings of side dishes as American restaurants do, and specifically in terms of vegetable side dishes. So I love broccoli for some reason. Like, I just love broccoli so much. Never once in Spain have I had an opportunity to get broccoli as a side dish, or let's say like mixed vegetables or squash or things like that. It's just not something that I've seen, and I've been to lots of different restaurants. So it just may not be something that is part of their restaurant culture. That might be something that, people think, well, that's something you can make at home at a restaurant. We're not going to offer that. Think too that the restaurants, and so these are restaurants that are going to have these menus del peregrino are obviously catering to pilgrims. Now, you can, of course, get off the beaten path and find restaurants and tapas bars and things that don't, that are more, that cater more to the locals. But at those places, you often may not find an English menu or an English-speaking server. And so you'll have to, you may not know what to order. And so then the vegetable dishes that they have, you don't even get a chance to try them because you're not sure what to order. This happened to some friends of mine when we were on the Camino Francés. I believe we're in Burgos, and they were with me, but they didn't know, no one there, none of the waitstaff spoke English. It was like a total local bar. It was so chaotic. You had to push your way up to the bar. You had to be ready when the waiter looked at you to tell him what you wanted. And I was with them, so I was able to order for them and explain to them what the dishes were. But if you walked in that restaurant and you didn't speak Spanish, there weren't things to point at either. Sometimes, at bars, at the tapas or pinchos bars, you can point at things. That wasn't the case there. So in that situation, you wouldn't be able to try their fresh vegetable-based tapas. Another thing, this is interesting. I hadn't thought about this until I ended up marrying a European. My wife is French. Many Americans, apparently, it's not normal in other parts of the world just to be able to buy whatever vegetable you want any time of year or fruit. Here, I didn't know that broccoli was a winter vegetable. I just thought if I'm hungry for broccoli, I'll buy broccoli and whenever I want. It didn't strike me at all as weird to have broccoli in summer. But in other parts of the world, and this may be the case in Spain, I actually haven't specifically researched this, but this is just something that seems plausible, is, that a lot of people are walking the Camino in the summer. And so I'm sure the dishes that are offered tend to be more based around what would be summer vegetables. So that could just be another possible explanation. And I think another thing Americans are used to, and when I say Americans, it may also be North Americans or Australians or Brits, or I can only speak from my own experience, but I think we're very accustomed to having more and more like alternative options that are vegetable based. So for example, instead of having just regular fries options, a sweet potato fry option, or instead of regular noodles, having a zucchini noodle option or a butternut squash noodle option, which are things, I haven't really seen outside the US and certainly not in a restaurant capacity. So now I want to say a quick word on supermarkets or just markets in general, because a lot of people will say, well, you can go to any market and find fresh veggies and fruits. I mean, that is true. Of course that is true, but at least the high majority of the people that I met while I was on the Camino were not cooking for themselves. So unless you want to eat some raw carrots or peppers or whatever, and knowing that maybe they're going to last only a couple of days, most people, in my experience, were not taking advantage of those options. But yes, of course, those options are there. And if you're lucky enough to stay at a place that has a communal kitchen that's open, which is something to keep in mind, because during COVID, apparently a lot of the kitchens in the Frances were closed for preparation of food by pilgrims. You can buy your own stuff and use that kitchen. Of course, that's a possibility. But don't forget too, so a lot of the routes don't have the same infrastructure. On the Camino Frances, yes, you can probably find a place with a kitchen. On the Camino Aragonés, I think I stayed at one place that had a communal kitchen. So the other places, you were either rolling up with your own food in your pack, or you were eating whatever was available at maybe the one restaurant in town, which may have been the albergue itself in the case of Ruesta, which is the abandoned village, which has a really cool albergue there. So with all that said, a couple of great Spanish vegetable-based dishes to look out for if you get a chance, and which you very well could see on Pilgrim's menus or on tapas menus, I just want to give you guys a couple options. So one is called pisto. This is one of my favorites. So Pisto. This is like the French version of ratatouille or ratatouille, the French dish. It's made of tomatoes, eggplants, onions, different bell peppers. It's really delicious, really fresh, pretty hearty. I've only ever had it served warm. Maybe it's served cold in places, I'm not sure, but it's a delicious option. I love getting that as a starter when I see it on a menu, and then for my second dish, getting something like chicken fries or whatever. Pimientos del Padrón. Those are like grilled, sauteed, small green peppers. They're usually really mild, but every once in a while you can get a spicy one. That's the trick. So just be careful if you don't do spice well, but they're really, really delicious. This is more of a southern dish, but garbanzos con espinacas. That's chickpeas with like sauteed spinach. You may see that on a menu. Anytime you see champiñones or setas or hongos, Hongos, those are all different types of mushrooms. So if you like mushrooms, usually those make for a fantastic dish or appetizer, and especially make sure you try them in Logroño. They have bars that just serve, their only tapa is a mushroom, like a sauteed mushroom. It's amazing. And then, although this is a legume, not a veggie, lentejas can be a popular dish, lentils, which I think are delicious, filling and full of protein, and a good alternative, to some meat-based options. So anyway, I hope this ends the debate in a sense, because like I said at the beginning, I don't think it's a question of are there vegetables available in Spain? Of course there are. But I think it's fair to say that many people who walk the Camino, especially the Camino Frances, if they're coming from places, where they're used to eating a lot of vegetables, even in a restaurant setting, the Camino may, the culinary aspect of the Camino may under-deliver. But, hopefully this inspires you to maybe learn some more Spanish, so you can be going into those places off the beaten path and ordering more of what you're looking for. Or maybe you want to stay at places that have a kitchen and you can be cooking. Or maybe you just say, what, forget it. I want to, I don't need to focus on that while I'm walking. I just need high energy proteins and carbs and drink my café con leche and everything like that. And that's fine too. But hopefully this puts an end to that debate, gives you some good information. If you have anything else to add, as always, please drop a comment below. I'd love it if you could like this video. And yeah, I'm so happy to keep getting to share this stuff with you guys. It's always a pleasure for me. So as always, muy buen camino, and until next time.